we're going to get into this. Let me just let everybody know, Amazon.com. I know a lot of you are online right now. Open up a new tab. Go to Amazon. The book is available now. It's been very well reviewed. Check it out. Amazon.com. Again, the name of the book, Autobiography of a Recovering Skinhead by Frank Mink. And if you're going to look it up by last name, let me spell that for you, Meeink. Got to get that out. We'll do it again at the end of this. You know how we do.
It's a weird last name. So
now, autobiography. Biographies cover everybody's aspect of their lives. And you really take this back from the beginning, before you even knew what a skinhead was.
Right.
And take me back. Where did you grow up at?
I grew up in South Philly, right by the stadium. So right by the Phillies and the Eagles and the Flyers and the Sixers. So I grew up right in kind of the heart of South Philly, in a little Irish neighborhood there on 2nd Street. So.
Oh, and would you consider your life to be middle class? What was your home life like?
It was definitely lower middle class. I remember at sometimes, especially with my dad and my dad's section, but being on public assistance. So I definitely would say we were, you know, the bad thing is back then, well, nowadays you can use a little card. They give you a little food stamp card. Back then they gave us the big booklet of neon money. Remember that? And you had to rip it out and just screamed, "Hey, I'm poor. Look at me," you know. And I used to pull them things out at the store. And every time I go in, the hottest girl in the neighborhood would come in right behind me. And what am I going to do? I got to go get something else. And I get out of line and wait until there was nobody in the store and then pull out the food stamps. So I definitely say I grew up lower middle class. So didn't know it, though. You know, you don't realize that stuff as a kid.
The only kid? The only child?
I was the only child for a long time until my mom got remarried to my stepfather.
Okay.
Now, I was talking to people in the office today about the fact that you were coming in. People, it's almost like people don't get to meet astronauts. People don't get to meet, you know, genetic engineers all the time. People don't get to meet skinheads all the time. So when I let people know I was going to be sitting down with a former true blue skinhead, for lack of a better term, people, you know, are fascinated. They've got a lot of questions. One of the questions that people were asking was this indoctrinated you? That's why I was asking about your family life. Were you? I read the autobiography. I already know the answers to a lot of these questions, but people, I think, had this idea that all skinheads are indoctrinated by their parents, and it was forced down upon them, and that's not really the case.
No. Growing up in South Philly, again, we all grow up in these little segregated neighborhoods, but we're also right next to each other.
Right.
We play sports with each other. We do these things. So it wasn't, I was always taught to stay out of the other neighborhoods, and that's Cambodian neighborhoods, the black neighborhoods, the Italian neighborhoods, even though I was half Irish, half Italian. Being from the Irish neighborhood, that's what I am. So that was always taught to us, but it wasn't like a hatred thing. It was always just more of an us-them, you know. We played them in sports. It wasn't until I moved to my dad's neighborhood up in West Philly, Southwest Philly, and some of you guys, West Philly, born and raised on a playground where I spent most of my days. It's a rough neighborhood, man, and you know, even Fresh Prince had to get out of there, and I got moved into that neighborhood, and it was tough. It was all black, and you know, the white kids that did live in the neighborhood, we fought all the time. I mean, consistently, every day. When I change schools and I go to an all-black school, Pepper Middle School, anyone ever wants to go to it, it's right by the airport, so in Philly. But you know, I went to this school, and I went to school every day with the feeling, not, oh, I hope I have a good day at school. I went to school every day saying, man, I hope I don't have to fist fight today. You know, I hope someone doesn't start something with me today. What's going to break off today in school?
Now, it's interesting, Frank, in reading in your story, just exactly what Little Ern talked about. It didn't feel like there was anything indoctrinated as far as like racism in your family. This felt like, you know, being a part of the skinhead was a way to connect to other people, a way to sort of, like, you know, be accepted.
Right.
Can you speak a little bit about that?
No, yeah. When I went up to Lancaster, Pennsylvania for the summer after I went to that all-black school. Just a skateboarder kid, you know, kind of a rebel-rousing skateboarding kid a little bit. And my cousin was a skinhead, and he hung out with skinheads. And when they used to all sit around and drink, and they were all 16, 17-year-old guys, they were cool to me. I was 14. And when they would start talking about, hey, what's it like growing up down in the city? Because none of them, they're all from Amish country with the horse and buggies, you know? And I used to love when they asked me about that stuff. See, because if you want to psychoanalyze it now, is my parents, and this is not a sob story, but my parents never asked me when I came home from school, how was school today, son? How was your weekend with your friends, son? they just didn't do it, just the way it was. These guys that felt like they were fine, someone was finally asking me, how are you? How are you doing today? And I love that. I love being around them guys.
Now, I would think, and correct me if I'm wrong, kids are kids. Kids, experiment with drugs, sex, and other things, and movements, and
Drugs and sex.
drugs and sex at the same time, and
sex
other
on
things.
drugs.
Yeah, exactly. So,
There we go.
you got to talk these kids. Anyways, my question is I would think that some people, as you started getting involved in the skinhead movement, probably thought, oh, it's just a phase. This too shall pass like everything else.
Yep.
And, kids pick up marijuana, but they don't become full-fledged heroin addicts.
Right.
Kids sneak drinks, they don't become alcoholics. And not to belittle or diminish or minimize stepping into the skinhead realm, but I would think, maybe some people might look at it and 2 weeks later realize this is not for me.
No.
This is not what happened to you. You went all the way.
I went all the way. And, I went to the point that it really gave me purpose in life. I had a calling. And then, as I get more and deeper into it, I start going to Bible studies for this stuff. I was going to go learn how to hate through the Bible. And now you're telling me that God wants me to believe this. I'm preparing to be one of God's soldiers and put wrath on the world that he does not like anymore, And, man, there's no more better general than someone telling me God is giving you this purpose.
How do you
now.
refute the Almighty?
And being born and raised Irish Catholic and making all my sacraments, going to these Bible studies, I'm learning the Bible completely different than the priest and the sisters ever taught me at Catholic school and catechism. So I remember questioning it, and they said, well, you've been lied to your whole life. Look at where you are. We're trying to reveal the truth to you. And then you go out and you shoot guns during Bible studies.
And this is the question. This is what I was talking about. People have so many questions. How, when you take a step back and you listen to this and you think that you're going to Bible study, you're shooting guns and learning to hate people, and let's just be specific about this, black people using the N-word, Jewish people using, the horrible words, K words, Asian people, gay people, whatever it may be.
No,
and then you go have your Sunday lunch afterwards and you shoot guns. What was their message powerful? Looking back, was it something that you were I don't want to use the term lacking, but when you're a kid and you're younger, or even adults, sometimes they just people can be preyed upon. If they're looking for, I don't know, a sense of purpose, acceptance. How were you able to not see what you see now?
It's when I look back at myself back then, it was I was primed for this stuff. I was a shooken up soda bottle just waiting for someone to take the cap off and spray me in any direction they wanted. Who knows, if maybe that summer I would have spent time with left-wing guerrillas and I'd be down in Colombia right now. Who knows? This just happened to be it was a horrible cliche, but it was the perfect storm. I had, you got to know that I feared as a kid going home with my stepfather. I feared going to school, and now people are fearing me. And I love that feeling. And to make it that it's a purpose. I still am I'm a broken human being. I was broken. My brain doesn't think right sometimes, and it's a mental illness almost. Almost all racism and hatred and thugism is a mental illness, because you honestly believe what you're doing is right, even though it's absolutely wrong. Real crazy people don't know they're crazy. It's the fake crazy people, them guys that run around, I'm crazy, but they're always the first guy to get knocked out in a fight because they're not real crazy. A real crazy guy doesn't tell you